What's going on, guys? I want to apologize for my voice. I'm a little sick at the moment, as you can hear, but I've had a lot of requests asking about the MG-34 and for a possible update, so I figured what better time than to bring that to you guys than right now. Stick around. What's up, guys? So what you were looking at is not the fucked up love child of a German engineer and Dr. Frankenstein. This is the MG-34 AR-15 hybrid. Originally I was going to go with an AR-10, but after kind of doing more research, if you will, looking further into it, it really would have just changed the entire look of the gun to use an AR-10 308 lower, because the AR-10 would add a little more to it, and it kind of would have taken away from keeping the MG look. I'm trying to keep it as original looking as possible, although obviously we know it's not original. Some of the stuff on this is not actually secured at the moment, like the top feed cover. I can just take that right off. I just had that resting on there so that I can easily just show you what we're working with here. So as you can see here, here's your Picatinny rail for the top of the AR-15. Here's your gas tube, your gas blocks up in here. This is a side charging, so over here is where your bolt would be on my side. You guys can't actually see it, but I'll flip the gun around and show you. Another thing that's not actually secured yet is the handle. The handle is just kind of temporarily placed there for you guys to get an idea of what we're going with. In terms of actually securing and connecting the handle, we're going from two different metals here. We're going from steel to aluminum, so I can't actually weld it. Toyed with the idea of maybe like an epoxy or a JB weld, but I don't know how well that's going to hold up. But it may be a viable option. I know there's different ones that allow you to join dissimilar metals a little better than just a traditional epoxy. Now that might be a route I may want to explore. God damn it. As I was saying, that may be a route I want to explore because it might be a viable option. I don't really know what else. I toyed with the idea with one of my buddies of putting a piece of metal on the bottom, almost a thinner sheet metal-esque, making sure it's steel, can bolt it to the bottom of the lower, and then weld the handle actually onto it, which would be a little more secure. Still haven't gotten to that part yet. I got other things I'm working on before we get to that part. I am actually gonna remove the grip now just to give you guys an idea. So as you can see, this has been chopped. This was an 80% lower. I never finished it, and it's just used for fitment at this point. So what I'll do is fit it up, make sure everything looks good, it's tight, everything looks right, and then I go on and order a actual serialized lower. I buy a side charging upper that'll attach right onto it, and bada bing, bada boom. So because this one doesn't have a grip, and the trigger's obviously not in there, we're gonna line it up about where it would be. Now this did take some trimming to make it be able to sit kind of smooth on there, and then I'm gonna have to, as I said, find some kind of a way to attach it. Now after being attached, it's not gonna be this raw open style. Obviously they do have the guards that go on the sides, easy enough. This guy is gonna be a little different. I had to cut a big groove in here so that we can still get to our safety on the side. So all that's gonna do is sit just like that, and your safety will sit right in this little groove and give you the ability to flick it one way or the other. The stock was a little tricky to get this to actually line up right, and it's still not 100%, but I'll explain later why. So when you take the actual wood stock off, I had to mill out the inside of that to give you a little more room. Not overly important, it was just very thin, and now I had to make it so that I could fit the buffer tube inside of it. After that, there's a little retaining ring here that comes off, and that just allows your stock to line up perfectly. Again, that hole was originally about 3/4 of an inch and had to be milled out way more to allow the buffer tube to fit into there. So while the back end took a little bit to actually get the fitment right, a lot of grinding, sanding, milling, everything, filing, you name it, the front end has actually been a lot harder to get it to line up. So we'll go ahead and remove this guy. So right here is not actually the end of the barrel. This is a 6-inch barrel extension. So I had to remove the muzzle device and then screw this guy on. It still needs to be Loctited. It's just hand tight for right now, just so I can continue my fitment. So from there, we're gonna break it down a little further. We're gonna take this guy off. Now, as you can see, the gas block is still loose. Again, nothing is tight on this, so I can get the fitment right first. This gas block has been proving to be the most difficult part. Now, I did actually take a file to it and filed it down. No, I'm not using it with it filed down. It was simply to get an idea of, if I use a low profile gas block, would I be able to fit it? Because the issue I'm running into is that the gas block is about just as large as the actual shroud itself. And why is that an issue? Because as you can see from the gas tube running up in here, it's very tight. Once you put the gas block on it, it almost pulls the gun down so the barrel sits on the bottom of the shroud. So once I get a lower profile gas block, it should allow you to have more wiggle room within the shroud. I can pull the barrel up a little higher, put some kind of a ring welded in there, and then when I slide my upper in, it sits completely straight. So again, this mangled fucking gas block you see on here is not going to be on the finished gun because it's mangled. That was intentional, as I said. It was so I could get my fitment right. So from there, we'll go ahead and break it down a little further. I had to clear out a little bit of room on the sides here to allow for the takedown pin access. I'll go ahead and get from this side. The takedown pin. Once you do that, as we all know, give it a little turn to allow the gas block to come out. There is your, what actually would be a 26-inch upper. Set that to the side. So inside of the receiver is our AR lower receiver. I had to mill out little spots, like right here, to allow me to push the takedown pin through. Same thing on the other side. I had to mill out a little groove right here to allow me to get to the takedown pin. The bolt release over here, I had to mill out a little pocket so that you could still hit the bolt release. Now mind you, none of this is actually complete. It's all very rough. There's scratches, there's dents, there's divots, everything from a lot of filing, cutting, sanding, all of it. So on the other side's been a little trickier. I had to cut out a groove here that had to line up perfectly to allow my bolt to come back. It is a side charging AR, it's not a rear charging. I had to shave away little bits of the metal here where the 2 rings for your takedown pins sit to allow it to sit almost flat. Same thing with the rear. You have to get it to sit at a 90-degree angle to the back of the receiver to the actual buffer tube. That was a little tricky because at first she was coming out like this. And obviously that ain't gonna work. So little by little, grinding away, sanding, filing, got it to be a lot more straight. I had to mill out a lot up here to allow for the angle of this gas tube to sit down in there. The problem with that is the angle at which I needed to cut it, I couldn't by any means get this on my mill, so I had to file it entirely by fucking hand, and it took a long time, but I finally got it. Go ahead and break it down a little more. Undo your buffer tube. Now mind you, again, buffer tube is a little tight. There's metal shavings fucking everywhere. This is not the finished buffer tube I'm gonna use, and this is not the finished lower I'm gonna use. Again, strictly for fitment. Now, the lower does come out very easy. Just pops right up, and there you go. Typical AR lower. With that, there's your opening to allow you to put the lower in there. I do work another job, so I haven't been able to put as much time into this as I was really hoping for, but getting so many requests for an update, I really felt I had to bring a video to you. So go ahead and reassemble it, put the lower back in, buffer tube goes through, and it's sometimes easier just to pull it upright, screw the buffer back on. So there's our lower with the buffer tube assembled. Then we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take our upper, and again, turn it to the side so the gas block will fit. And then we just go ahead and slide her down in there. It's easier to lay it on its side. Get your fitment right. Take your takedown pin. Go ahead and drop her in. Now, once takedown pin's on, we can do it really in any order you want. Go with this guy first. Now again, the gas block's a little tight. So you're gonna notice at the end that the barrel is sitting on the bottom of the shroud if you look closely. So there's the first part of the shroud. Now we're gonna go with the end of the shroud with the bipod. Slide that on. Get her lined up right. There's your rough look. And we're gonna take our little retainer. This helps also to keep the buffer tube in place. We're gonna take our stock. We're gonna secure that onto there. And again, these will be set with set screws. You won't be able to pull it off that easily. Then we would take, but it's not finished, our hand grip. Set that up in there. And then our top tray feed cover, which, as you see, I gotta do a little more work on that upper. I'm more so focused right now. As I was saying, I am a little more focused on getting this barrel to sit right. With the current standing and the barrel laying on the bottom, it's not actually gonna make it out the hole. So that could make for a bad day when you shoot and it bounces inside of that shroud and goes cooking out the side somewhere. So again, a little more fitment that's gonna need to be done. Low profile gas block should really give me a lot more room in there. And then I can weld up some kind of a little washer or a ring or a sleeve or something to allow the barrel to sit completely straight heading out the end. Now, while it does have these sights on it, they're not great and they're not really adjustable because this is a replica. So I toyed with the idea of just going with the giant MG-34 Spider anti-aircraft sight, kind of just a point and shoot. I mean, you're not gonna be hunting with this thing. It doesn't need to be precision. It's just to go out and have some fun. So again, I'm gonna have to do a little shaving off the top. You gotta be careful how much you take away because you don't wanna lose the integrity of the actual aluminum itself, but you do need to be able to get the top feed cover on there. I'm gonna take this pistol grip out because it keeps falling. But again, you do need to be able to get this to actually close because in its current orientation, it can't. In the front, it has enough room. It will go down. In the back, as you see, it's sitting probably about, you can't actually see that. In the back, it's sitting about 1/4 inch high, so not much. Just need to take a little bit off to give it a little better angle and it'll drop down. Then I'm gonna need to go ahead and put these hand guards on the sides, which should really clean up the look and hopefully keep as much of the original MG look as possible because this is the handguard from the original MG. And by original, I mean when I originally bought this. If you guys have any suggestions for how I can actually attach these, be sure to leave a comment down below. Be sure to click the like and subscribe button so you can see when I actually wrap this guy up. I'm hoping to have it wrapped up here in the near future, and I will add it to my collection of other, I don't even know what to call them, like, best way to sum it up is putting a Ferrari body kit on a Honda Accord. Nothing against Honda Accords. They're just not Ferraris. And as always, until next time, stay safe.